Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenvo, and I am so excited to have Abby Springman on. Abby, what's up?
Hi, I'm so excited that I'm here.
Well, I am excited, and here's the thing. I want to let everyone know that I'm really excited because number one, Abby is a new mom. She has a new baby in the house. So, Abby, I have to ask you. First of all, you look really energized here. You don't look too tired.
Yeah,
how's the baby doing, and how's Big Brother doing, and how's your husband handling? How's all these things going on for you? How's everything going?
It's going well. So both of our kids are adopted, and that there are challenges that come with that. But one of the non-challenges is that I'm not the only person who can. I'm not breastfeeding, so both Matt and I, my husband Matt and I, can share feeding responsibilities, which is amazing because we can split up nighttime. So neither one of us is in theory, neither one of us is overly tired all the time. We're still pretty tired, but it's going really well. He's so sweet. Big Brother's, our older son, Felix, is obsessed with him. And anytime we bring him down in the morning, Felix is like, Teddy. So it's really cute. Everybody's settling in nicely.
Well, Abby, so, we're just to let everyone know, Abby and I are in the same mastermind. I've gotten to know her so well over the past few years here. And Abby, this is something that you've been just praying about for so long. Mm-hmm. And, it was such a long journey. And I was kind of living it too, because you were kind of letting us go and, letting us know what was going on. But talk about, you had a setback, with an adoption, and then you were demoralized about it, and you and your husband were praying hard for it, and then all of a sudden your prayers were heard. And it's just I wanted you to just share that, because again, I love that story, and I think it's something that everyone who's sometimes you'll have setbacks, right? But if you have a lot of faith there, things work out. And so can you just share that story with us?
Yeah. So my husband and I have been in the adoption process since last January. We kind of dragged our feet with paperwork. So we didn't get home study approved until last summer. And then we hit the wait list, and it was total cricket. And so we got matched, which is when you're chosen by either the expectant mom, expectant dad, or the agency chooses you if the expectant parents choose not to do that. So we were matched in March, and it was hey, it's March 2nd, baby's due March 23rd. Let's go. And we were oh my gosh, we have a launch that we now needs to move forward by a whole week so that we can be ready for this child. Yeah. And then we got a call on day 6 of the launch that we had hastily moved up, and they're hey, just kidding, baby's not due until May 4th, which was confusing. We weren't sure quite how that happened. So all of that to say, it was just a lot of up and down. So then we get to April 15th, and they're we think that baby's going to come pretty soon. So we made our way down to Florida, because our agency's based in Florida, and we got the call on the 22nd that baby was born, and we're yes, we can't wait. We're going to meet baby in 2 days. And then we got a call the next day on April 23rd that mama had changed her mind, which we always knew was a possibility. That is the nature of adoption. We always hope that mama feels complete freedom to make the choice that she feels is best for her child. But it's obviously devastating all the same, because you were so hopeful. So we drove home with an empty car seat from Florida to Virginia, which was just a really long 2 days. And we took some time, to just be sad and not talk to friends and watch movies and drink a glass of wine, And we ended up telling our agency on a Thursday before Mother's Day, okay, I think we're ready to go back on the wait list. Let's see what happens. And 3 days later, we got a call, and they were hey, we have a baby boy in West Palm Beach who was born yesterday. Can you be here tomorrow in time for him to be discharged?
Wow.
And we were oh my gosh, yes, obviously, yes, we can be there. So we booked a flight. We flew down with just keeping everything with open hands. And we know that the Lord promises to work all things together for the good of those who love him. He promises that. But we were just we don't want to get too attached to the idea. So we didn't tell our families. We just went down to Florida and then surprised them via FaceTime, because we wanted to let the Lord do what he was going to do. Yeah. And sure enough, I can't remember exactly which book it's from, but the benediction that, pastors often give at church, like, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, to him be the glory and the power. I'm misquoting it, but just that this, to him who is able to do far more abundantly, this was that, like, he was doing such bigger things than we could have possibly imagined when we were experiencing the fall through. And the fall through was really hard and really sad, but we had no way of knowing that, like, this was what he was preparing us for Teddy, and he was preparing Teddy for us. And that if we just held on and like trusted that the Lord is good and that he does do greater things, like, that's where the peace comes from, as opposed to falling completely into the depths of despair and feeling like we're never going to have another baby. So it was definitely a huge exercise in faith. Keeping your chin up when you don't want to, but Teddy's here and he's thriving, and we're so excited to be a family of 4. And we're just so grateful for the story that's being told through his life and through our family story.
Well, and just the fact that he was meant to be with your family, right? Like, all this had to happen for him to find you and your family. I'm very curious. How was the flight down? How were you? How were you on that plane? How was your husband? Like, how were you guys? Again,
we were okay. Like, I mean, it was just very like, I mean, we went straight from the airport to the hospital. We were on a time crunch, and we get on the plane, and like 40 minutes goes by, and they're like, "Ooh, sorry, everyone, we're gonna have to pull you off the plane because something needs to get fixed. Also, take all of your luggage with you." So like, our flight was delayed by like 2 hours, and I'm like, I don't think you people understand. We have got to get to West Palm Beach. Yeah. So that was where the stress came from. But it was really sweet just being like, it was our last like few hours as a family of 3 because our son Felix went down with us. And so we just enjoyed that time together and struggled through the airport with all of the accoutrements that come with 2 children. We had someone ask us, they were like, "Are you moving?" I was like, "No, back off."
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, what a memory you have to share, right? With your son, right? What a memory. I mean, what a memory that you share with your husband. So I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that, because again, it's something that anyone, right? No matter what religion you practice, just like having faith and being able to kind of keep going and trusting that where you are is where you're supposed to be, that like it was really hard not to feel like this was a mistake or like that something went wrong. And one of my favorite things that anyone has ever told me was like, this didn't take God by surprise. Like, he knew all of this was going to happen, and there's peace in that, knowing that God wasn't like, wait, what? Like, no, this wasn't how things are supposed to go. That the Lord was like, hold my beer, wait for a second, because you have no idea what's about to happen. It's going to be incredible, and it's going to be redemptive. And that's the story, like these stories of redemption that are told over and over again in our lives are really just like one big sign, like pointing us back to the fact that none of this was an accident, and that our God cares deeply for us and loves us and wants what's best for us. And like being able to trust in that makes it easier to weather the ups and downs in life, but also in business, and just trusting that like, this isn't an accident that I'm here. And like my mistake, like I make mistakes, I'm a human. And that's not to say that like anything that I do that goes wrong, like, oh, I couldn't have done it better. But it is to say that like all of those things can be worked together for the good of those who love him. Like, and it doesn't have to be lost. Like, our pain doesn't have to be lost, but I think it's choosing, like, am I going to let this pain define me, or am I going to let this pain point me to joy and redemption? Because you can choose that. Like, you can, and that doesn't mean that sad things aren't still sad, but like when you know that joy is a choice, that it makes it a little bit easier to not feel like the hard things and the bad things and the sad things that happen to us, we don't have to be a victim of those situations. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, that's mic drop right there. I mean, I don't know what else to ask you now. I mean, that's mic drop. No, but again, I love that. And, it's a perfect segue into what you're doing today and where you start. So, Abby, obviously, I know you just having just amazing, amazing photographer, have just amazing business around it and transitioning to different things. But let's start off with how you got started in photography, what you're doing now, and how are you helping other people just kind of level up in their businesses?
Yeah. So I am a brand photographer for high performing creative small business owners. So I specialize in working with folks who are like in our mastermind, people who are in the top like 1% to 5% of their industry, who have multiple streams of income. Like I love coming in and photographing an entire suite of imagery that serves sales pages and website about pages and social media and like your funnel opt-in page and your lead magnet confirmation page, like all of those. I love shooting for all of that. That's my sweet spot. I didn't start there though. I started in wedding photography. When I was in college, I took a darkroom film class and I just fell completely in love with the art of photography. And then I realized, like a lot of 20-something females, I was obsessed with weddings. So I was like, oh, I could put these two things together and make a job out of it. So it took me about 2 years out of college. I started off working for a defense contractor because my degree is in public relations. So started off working for that Fortune 500 defense contractor. And then 2 years later, left and went full-time photography. And like everybody was like, okay, let's see how long this lasts. Me included. I was like, this will last maybe 5 years. But that was 10 years ago I left.
Wow.
So I slowly, I shot weddings for years. And then I started feeling discontent. Like, I don't know that this is really where I want to be for a long term. But then when I became a mom the first time, that was what accelerated I think it's time for us to start looking for an off ramp here, because 12, 14-hour days away from my family, sometimes 3-day weekends away from my family for weddings. I just was in like engagement sessions in the evenings and clients who wanted to meet at 7 or 8 p.m. I was like, I just can't keep doing this. Like my time with my family is so important to me and my job is important to me too. But like, I desire to run a business that enables a life that I love, not a life that's governed by my business's every whim.
I love it.
So we started looking. I had been shooting brand photography, like sort of on the back end, not on the back end, but like on the side. Like I had a couple people ask me to do it and I was like, sure, that's fine. And then it started accelerating all on its own. And I had no idea why. But I got like a referral one day. Someone was like, oh, so Jasmine Star referred me to you. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like Jasmine Star is a big deal in like the social media, like creative world. And I was like, how does Jasmine Star know my name? So this thing, like all these other people like confirming something in me that I had not seen. And I realized it was because I was approaching brand photography like a marketer, not like a photographer who wanted to come in and take a bunch of cute photographs. And so the approach itself had not been done before. Nobody was doing it like I was. And so it almost like built its own momentum. So then when we intentionally put more effort behind it, it snowballed. And so then we started getting students asking, like, when are you going to teach this? Because I want to make the same departure from the weddings world, or maybe like COVID taught me that I can't rely on family portraits anymore. I want to do brand photography. Can you teach me how to do it? So we created a course, Brand Photography Academy, which sold like hotcakes. Like when we first launched it last spring, like there was our goal was 100 students, like 100. And that was a stretch goal. And we ended up with 292 for the first round, which was bananas.
Wow.
So it was this like, okay, this is something like our market needs. I cannot photograph every brand portrait session out there. So like it's good for us to teach our process to other people so that they can go and use their businesses to serve their families as well as their clients.
And, I love that because, I just to let everyone know, I remember sitting on a mastermind session where Abby was kind of talking about this, and I was kind of just blown away about like just the success she had in this course. But what I've always loved about what you do, Abby, is that you have a true abundance mindset. And you just said it right there. It's like, I can't shoot all these photos. I want to help other people, do the same thing, serve other entrepreneurs that maybe I can't work with, and also create a life that is not, surrounded by, okay, this is where I need to surround my, set up my life around when I shoot rather than have it do the other things. So I absolutely love that. And again, I love the fact that, hey, you just identified that like, look, this is not the life I want. The life I want is to spend time with my family. Because obviously when you're shooting photos, it's on the weekends, right? It's like the best times of the year. And that's when you should be making memories and whatnot. So for those who are like just interested in, okay, so number one, if they're interested in working with you, is there a pathway for that? Or is it mainly like, hey, let's come through the course? Like, or do you work both ways?
No, so typically our course is for other photographers who are looking to do brand photography for their clients. That's the educational side of our business. On the agency side of the business, where I serve clients and I come and I photograph for them, that's a different pipeline. So like you can check out my website, abbygracephotography.com. That's where we have all of our new leads come through. And we just have a call with all of our folks just to make sure like, hey, where you're at in your business, that this is a good investment of your time. Because sometimes it's not. Like sometimes it's, hey, I just started my business last year. I'm still kind of trying to figure out my brand identity. I would say maybe don't invest in a full brand session because you're still figuring out where it is you need to go. And if you try to put too tight of a visual box on it now, it may end up keeping you from moving where you're trying to go in the future because you acted a little bit too soon. So, but yeah, abbygracephotography.com is where my brand photography home lives.
And, just to let you guys know, all right, so you can tell when someone actually cares about your business and your success when they say, hey, if you're not ready for what I have to offer, why don't you just wait a little bit and we can always revisit that, right?
Yeah.
When people say, hey, you know what, we'll take you on as a client because they just want to make a buck, then that's who you should be wary of. But the fact that Abby just said it right there, like, look, I want you to be successful. I'm not trying to take your money, like I'm not trying to have you invest in this when you're absolutely ready. Because again, like Abby's worked with people that I know and they are well off and they're ready, right? They're ready for something like this. So again, with that being said, to reach out. And here's the thing too. I mean, if Abby can't take on your project, I'm sure she's got plenty of students that have gone.
We have a whole network of students. We also know other amazing brand photographers that like that. And that's one of the things I love about my job is like, hey, I don't think I'm the best fit for you, but let me point you to this person over here, like Erin, like Paige Ray, like if one of those might be able to better serve you, because I don't think what I do is going to get you where it is that you're trying to go.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to switch gears now. We're going to switch gears on you right now. Is the next segment I love. It's called the Big Entrepreneur 3. So Abby, I'm going to ask you some entrepreneurial questions because you are an awesome entrepreneur, super mom, super wife, all the above. You check all the boxes there. So the first questions I'm going to ask you is share a productivity tip that has helped you as an entrepreneur. So any kind of tip that's helped you as an entrepreneur.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I would say stop running your inbox. Stop running your to-do list out of your inbox. That's a good one. I don't keep email on my phone. And so I love speaking at conferences. And every time I say that from the stage, you can like hear the collective gasp of like, oh, you don't keep email on your phone? No, I haven't.
I know. I'm trying not to have my mouth just wide open there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a brand photography emergency. So like, there's no reason to have it on my phone. Like if it's like the day before a shoot and a client's like, hey, just so you know, my house burned down and we can't shoot here anymore. They have my phone number and they can call me. Like there's no need for email. So, the running your to-do list out of your inbox is such an easy trap to fall into because it's a vanity metric, right? Let's say you have 47 unread messages and you can get through all 47. You feel good about that, right? You feel good about getting to inbox 0, but like, did you actually do any work? Like Glenn, do you make money? Like as a dentist, do you make money answering emails or do you make money when you like put a crown on someone's tooth?
Yeah. No. And again, I'm laughing because it's like a pet peeve of mine to see like that email icon on my phone with a bunch of numbers on it. Ooh. Like it drives me crazy.
You should take email off your phone.
I know. Because if it is an emergency,
they'll call you.
They'll have my number. They can call me. They can even shoot me a text message there. But yes. Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'm going to have to I recently kicked out like caffeine out of my diet. I want to say this would be harder actually. So I'll have to see, but I love
Well, it's like an emotional tick, right? Like, oh, I'm feeling unsatisfied or I'm bored or I'm frustrated or I'm like looking for something to fix. You pull open your inbox but the problem is when you open your inbox, let's say it's a Saturday morning and your kid's soccer game, like now instead of being engaged with what's in front of you, you're looking at your inbox and you're thinking about work. And I already struggle with being where my feet are. Like when I add social media into it or email, like it's just so much worse. So like I delete social media off my phone on weekends. We have a virtual assistant who like will send us, if there's something urgent in the inbox, she'll send it to us via Voxer, but like I don't keep email on my phone. And so that like running your to-do list, like don't run it out of your inbox because what's at the top of your inbox? Whatever came in most recently, but that doesn't mean that it's the most important thing. So you're constantly answering the quote unquote urgent without necessarily addressing the important, but it feels good because you can point to a number and say, I answered 47 emails today and I'm at inbox 0. Great job, Abby. You did good work today, as opposed to, but what about those edits that your clients are expecting? Or what about that course that you haven't made any progress on? Like, you got to inbox 0, but what about the work, the important but not urgent stuff?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm going to have to work on that one. I love that one.
Have you read Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport?
No, but I've read Deep Work.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's actually helped me out a lot. And no, I need to read that. Wow, I love it. So that's something I love. That's what I love about this segment. I like learning something new. And now I'm going to challenge myself to do that. Okay. So my next question is share like a tool. Like it could be digital, it could be non-digital that's helped you as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so I think probably number one tool for me is the Freedom app. It's an app blocker. There's a desktop version and a phone version. I've got them on both. And I have a reoccurring block set up on my phone from, I think it's 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next day, and then all weekend that blocks any sites that I would go to out of boredom to keep me from spending time mindlessly scrolling on my phone. So like BBC.
The Freedom app.
The Freedom app. Yep. Okay. BBC is like a really big, like I love keeping up with the news, but like I don't need to be checking BBC. If I need to know what's going on, we get the Wall Street Journal delivered to our house. So I'll read the newspaper instead. But instead of like picking up my phone when I'm bored to check BBC, it's blocked during times when I should be with my family. I actually I delete social media on my phone after work hours and on the weekends, but I was still going on my browser. I was like, workaround. So I ended up just blocking social media with the Freedom app 24/7. So I cannot access Instagram on my phone if I've deleted the app. It's so awesome.
That's two tips I'm going to have to like use now. Wow. The Freedom app. Okay. Yeah. And you know what? It forces you to be engaged with whatever you're doing or find something that's non-tech to do. Right.
Yep.
Wow. I need to get that for my kids too. That's
it's allowing your cooler head, like the logical part of you who like is clear on your values and what sort of vision you have for your life to make the decision for yourself when you're in a weaker state of mind of like, it's the end of the day. All of my willpower has been depleted. Should I read a book or should I scroll endlessly on social media? Like it's easier to scroll on social media, but that's not the part of the vision that I have for my life. So I've allowed my cooler head to prevail to make that decision for me by setting up those reoccurring blocks.
You know what I love about that too? Is that you are setting the foundation of an example you want to give to your sons.
I'm trying.
Right?
I'm really trying.
And that's the thing too. Like it's for me, it's like, I always ask myself, okay, like my kids are always watching. So I'm always present at all my kids' athletic. I'm in charge of all the athletics. So I take them to all their practices and whatnot.
Yeah.
My wife's in charge of all the scholastic stuff. And what's funny is like, my daughter not too long ago said, hey dad, you can, the other dads like walk around and stuff like that. You don't have to sit there. But she said that and I still catch her looking up in the stands to see if I'm sitting there.
Aww.
And so it tells me like, yeah, she's saying that she doesn't care. Just like how when we were kids, like, oh gosh, mom, why'd you do that? Why'd you scream like a wild woman? It's so embarrassing. But honestly, like deep down inside,
you
kind of actually liked it.
Yeah.
I actually liked it. I just didn't want to tell her. I wanted it to be really cool. But and so again, it's just amazing how like our kids are always watching. And so you're like setting that foundation there, like, hey, when we're here as a family, we're like focusing on each other and you're practicing what you preach. So I love that. 2 things I'm going to do right away. Okay. So the next question is share your favorite business or philosophy / self-help book and why is it your favorite?
Deep Work for sure. Wow. Like I've sent a copy of that book to more people than I could ever count. That is Deep Work by Cal Newport. He is the go-to person, not just on productivity, like getting more done, but getting the good stuff done, like getting the right stuff done and how to almost train your brain to be able to operate in that state of mind without it feeling quite so laborious every time you try to get there. I used to think that, I think it's Shonda Rhimes calls it the hum of like that place where you're just like, you're firing on all cylinders and your brain is like working at max capacity. It's just like everything is going well and the ideas are coming and you can't type fast enough. I always regarded that as like, a stroke of luck to fall into that hum. But with Deep Work, he teaches you how to intentionally get there on purpose. Like you decide when you go there. And so I read that book in think it was 2018. And it changed everything about how I was approaching work, about how my husband and I were approaching work. That led to, it was almost like a domino effect. Like we read Deep Work and then we read Traction. And then I don't remember what followed. Digital Minimalism was in there somewhere as well. And it was just this like, oh, we haven't been acting like business owners. We've been acting like creative, like we've been acting like artists who also happen to run a business, but that's not how I want to function. I want to be able to, I don't want to rely on work to happen. I don't want that deep work hum to happen on an unreliable basis. Like I need to be able to predict when that's going to happen. And I need to be able to activate that, which sounds very like manifesty / woo woo, but it is a game changer. It's a little hard to make it through. It reads very much like an academic wrote it because he's a professor of computer science at Georgetown, but it is the best book I have ever read as a business owner.
Yeah, I absolutely love that book. And I remember after reading the book and just thinking to myself, man, I wish I had this when I was like a little bit younger. I probably could have like saved a lot of time and
I would have crushed it in college if I'd had this book.
Oh gosh, no kidding, right? No kidding. But I it's just, again, what we were just talking about, about your newborn son, is that sometimes things are introduced in our lives at the right time, right? Mm-hmm. Like that book came at the right time, right? Maybe if it came a little bit earlier when we prioritize certain things in our lives more than just getting ahead or becoming successful or becoming more efficient, maybe it wouldn't resonate the same. Maybe like, whatever, I'll just read something else,
It's
so
possible.
I love that. That's a great book there. Okay. So, everyone, a lot of times when we get on social media and we see other people, we see what you're doing and seeing all these amazing things that you're doing, people forget that all that success is paid with like hard work and sometimes failure, right? Sometimes those times when we fall down, when we get back up, that's when we start growing and start leveling up. So I want you to share, if you're like me, you probably have like a ton of mistakes, right? This next segment is learning from the past. And so if you can just pick one mistake that you made, that you learned something significant from, and share that with us.
Yeah, I think for me, that came back to a mindset of celebrity over service. Like I really wanted people to make a big deal out of me. And I really wanted to feel like my ego was being patted by my business, which was that's not, if you work in the service industry, that's not really how service works. Like go to Hollywood if that's what you want. But I was like trying to build this personal brand. And I didn't realize that like I was using the word personal brand as a moniker for celebrity. And I wanted to walk into a room and feel really cool about myself, because when I said my name, that people would recognize it. Gosh, that sounds so bad when I say it out loud. And I had a couple of really, really humbling experiences where like one weekend in particular, we had, it was like a Friday, and we'd emailed our list about 2 new in-person workshop days coming out. We had never done 2 at a time. We'd only ever released 1 workshop a day at a time. And we had upped the price, and we sent it out to our list, and it was crickets. And we'd sold out our previous workshop. Everything had sold out like within a couple of days. And this was absolute crickets. And I was like, oh, so I'm not as big of a deal as I thought I was. Also, maybe I've been thinking too much about myself here. And like, this isn't working because I think people can smell that I'm not really here for that, or that there's a part of me that's not here for them, that it's here for me. And that's gross. And that's not to say that like, as you approach business ventures, that like the what's in it for me, how can I grow my business, shouldn't be there, because that's, you want your business to be profitable and you want it to continue to grow. But like, my business isn't here to make much of me. My business is here to help me make much of other people, and to glorify God in the process, and to love and serve my clients really well and grow my business at the same time. But my business isn't here to make a big deal out of me. So I would say that's the biggest mistake that I made when I finally learned, and it's an everyday process for me. Like pride has always been a struggle of mine, but like when I began to die to myself in that way of like, okay, this is not about you. This is how can we serve other people, approaching with others' best interest in mind. I think it was Laura Meyer said, she was talking about at Marketer's Heart, just the concept of benevolence, that started to serve my clients better, which in turn served my business better. So I think when we approach with that mindset of what can I do for you instead of how can you serve me, that will take you much further if you're striving to build a service-based business.
And I love that lesson, because, you can apply it, you applied it in business, but honestly, you applied it to everything, it to your own family, your relationships, come in with that servant mentality. What can I do? What can I do for my friends and help my friends? What can I do for my family? I think that's something that you can take in every aspect of life. So I absolutely love that. Now, Now, Abby, if we can go back in time, if you can, you can get into that DeLorean and that hot tub time machine, and you can go back in time. And you know what? I'll make it easy for you. You can pick any younger version of yourself.
Okay.
So you go back in time, but you can only tell that young Abby like one thing, and you have like less than a minute to tell her. What would you tell her?
Oh, that's a struggle between like my 13-year-old self and my 22-year-old self. I'd probably say 22-year-old self, because it was right when I started my business. And I would tell her, good for you, or good for her, not for you. Like, it's okay that she got that really cool thing. You don't have to need that too. Like, good for her, not for you. Like, you have other goals. You don't need to check off her list of accomplishments in addition to the list of things that you actually want to do. So like, let her accomplishments be hers. Yours are on a completely different plane. You're operating in a different book on a different sheet of paper. This isn't like a side-by-side comparison.
I love that. I think
that's an Amy Poehler quote. Good for her, not for me.
I mean, it is like an amazing quote, because I think that is the reason why so many budding entrepreneurs, experienced entrepreneurs who are just doing amazing. I think that is the reason why so many of them, and including myself, sometimes get a little unhappy, right?
Yeah,
like you're looking at the Joneses, and you're like, wait a minute, like I should be there, or I should be doing this. In reality,
and like you were happy with your lot until you looked over there, and you're like, well,
exactly.
Wait a second. She got more than me. And like, but you were happy. Like you were happy until you looked sideways.
Wow. Such an amazing advice. And honestly, it's just for anyone who's listening and watching this right now, everyone can relate to. And honestly, like, yeah, just be present in what you're doing. You have your own mission, be happy with what you have. And, you're on a different, path and trajectory. So I absolutely love that. Okay. So, we meet a lot of people all the time. We go to our masterminds. We were at that Marketer's Heart event. We met all these people, and inevitably there's going to be people who come up to you, Abby, and they're going to say, hey, I want to do what you do. Like, I want to do what you do. Well, let's say that someone comes up to you and they ask you, like, okay, I want to do what you do. And we're about to take off here. We're about to go to an event here. And you only got like a minute to tell them to reverse engineer what you do. What would you tell them? Like, they want to do what you do.
Approach like a marketer. So learn as much as you can about marketing. Julie Stoyan is an excellent person to follow for that. Everything Funnel Gorgeous. So learn as much about marketing as you can. Learn as much about branding as you can, because those two will drive the train. I've seen numerous incredibly talented like wedding and family photographers try to make the jump into brand photography, and not realizing that it requires a completely different mentality. And so they approach it like a portrait photographer, and it falls flat on its face. So if you can get the marketing and the branding side into your brain, you will be, and you're good with the camera, the brand photography success will follow.
Wow. I love it. I love it, man. Everything is like gold today that you're just spitting out. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, for those who are watching, for those who are listening as well, and they want to connect with you. Like, what's the best way, Abby? What's the best way if they just want to connect with you and just find out what you're doing, figure out what your courses are, maybe work with you, they just want to stay in touch. What's the best way?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to follow along passively, at Abby Grace Photo on Instagram, I would say, and TikTok, but I have like 37 followers on TikTok because I'm an old millennial. But
hey guys, we're gonna have to follow her. Well, I'll make sure I'll put her TikTok in the show notes. We're gonna quadruple her following on TikTok.
Great, I'm so excited to get to like 120. But Instagram is definitely the best place to, like, if you want to get to know me as a business owner and as a person. If you're interested in seeing my professional work and seeing more of our offerings, AbbyGracePhotography.com, and that's Abby, ABBY.
I love it. I love it. Abby, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you, Glenn. This was such a joy.
This is so awesome. And yes, guys, I have the privilege of getting to meet her a couple of times a year at our masterminds. Hey, I'm lucky here. But hey, if you can follow her, you can connect with her. You can also get the same benefit as well. But Abby, thank you so much for jumping on. And guys, see you guys next time.
Thanks, Glenn.